During this August, I accompanied the Reverend Dr. Herb Gale, the 136th moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Canada, on his international visit that included Nicaragua and also Guatemala. One of the places we visited is a very special school, often referred to as the Dumb School. This is a program where I have been involved almost since its beginning in 1995, and where members of your congregation have visited. Faithful support from a few congregations, including St. Andrew's, since its inception has transformed this one small and drab school located in the garbage dump in the middle of the capital city into a thriving oasis of over 300 eager children who learn how to read and write and hope for a future where they can seek gainful employment other than scavenging in the landfill or entering a very short and violent life of youth gangs. From its humble beginnings, where the administrator and teachers of the school had to beg parents to let their kids go to school rather than accompany them to pick through mounds of garbage for edibles and recyclables. Families now recognize the value of this special school that values the dignity of each student and provides them the tools to seek a better future. In the beginning, it was our eventual hope that we would have some who would reach the 6th grade. Since then, we've had dozens of grade 6 graduates who continued their education to eventually graduate from high school, thanks to Presbyterians like you who supported scholarships for them. One of these young people is named Anna, who graduated as a teacher 2 years ago. She's now a 2nd grade teacher in the same school where she went to school for 6 years and is now able to get back to the same institution that offered her an alternative to a bleak or violent future so common to many young people throughout the world. She thanks you for the blessing that she has received. She has taken a gift and will now return it tenfold to other children. Bushra is the name of a 10-year-old student, but in Afghanistan. She's the top student in her grade. She explained that she was frustrated not being able to learn more as she did not have all the required textbooks. Today she has received all the required textbooks as a part of a program funded by PWCD to a local partner agency in her community. Bushra shares her joy, her desire to be a doctor one day, to serve others in her community. Her parents fully support her desire to study. Her father, by the way, is an Islamic cleric in her community, who can see God smiling now when we Presbyterians, through PWCD, provide for the education of an Islamic cleric's daughter. Afghanistan has the lowest rate of literacy in the world, somewhere between 8%. And school-age girls between 8 and 25 simply do not go to school. These girls that we are supporting have been invited to come back to school. And if their families are willing to support this idea, should we not be providing that opportunity? Giving generously, sharing with the stranger, the widow and the orphan have been, since the earliest times of the Bible, essential ways for those in covenant relationships with God to act towards others. Christ confirms this when he reminds us of the greatest commandment, which is to love, first God, then towards those around us, our neighbors. By loving our neighbors, we transform these neighbors. In another part of the world, in Malawi, a country that's been hard hit by HIV and AIDS, drought, famine, and low crop production. At PWCD, we have been working with thousands of farmers to diversify their crops. When they used to plant only maize, they could lose their entire year's worth of food supply when drought and plague hit. Now they can intercrop and mix soybean, cassava, sorghum, and chickpeas with their maize. I visited the field of Jenny Mumba in Malawi earlier this year, who shared happily that her family has not been hungry since 2003, when they were trained in this technique. She has also been taught to use non-commercial fertilizer on her land, and with the use of natural fertilizer and time-tested methods like mulching, She has not only reduced the cost of planting and growing, but has also increased her soil fertility. And the evidence is in her fields, in the smiles of her extended family that includes 9 orphans, nieces, and nephews whose parents have been killed or debilitated by HIV and AIDS, whose bellies are full, and who all can attend school with their own 3 children. We encourage Jenny and other farmers not to sell their surplus food immediately following the harvest when the crop prices are at the lowest because of the bountiful supply. A portion is saved in a grain or a seed bank so that they can withdraw it when the seed or grain is required. Jenny informs us that she shared her experience and techniques with 45 other farmers in the past few years. She apologizes to us with a smile that she hasn't been as good as her neighbor, who has shared and taught this technique with 90 other farmers. Recently, when the government announced the limited availability of subsidized fertilizer, her community took leadership and responded that they did not need the allotted portions destined for their community. They asked the government officials to distribute the intended portions to other communities in more remote parts of the country who had greater need. This is a story of hope. This is a story of people not just giving fish, but teaching others how to fish. It's a story of love for the little gifts of many that allow our church in Canada to work with churches in countries like Malawi to benefit one community that will help other communities, a story of neighbors helping each other. These stories occur every day because of the call you have received and because you respond by giving of yourself, by working in mission, by your prayers and financially supporting the mission of our church. In this way, we continue the work of our church that started 2,000 years ago, a church that is engaged with what is going on in the world around it, witnessing not only in word, but also in action. It has been said that what we do for ourselves dies with us. We can't take it with us. But what we do for others lives forever. There are many who see our world as one of scarcity, saying that our resources are not sufficient for the task of feeding the hungry, providing clean water to those without, educating children in countries like Guatemala, Afghanistan, or giving hope to those afflicted by HIV and AIDS in countries like Malawi. But this cannot be an excuse to refuse what God has given to us through Jesus Christ and to bring it to others within the world. For Christians, there is no excuse not to receive from Jesus' hand what he gives and to go into the world with this gift. Like the disciples and followers of Christ who have preceded us through generations, we are called to work for and with those who you will never know by name and those who you will never meet. So friends, if we wish to experience the surprising generosity of God, we must be willing to risk appearing foolish and live like the boy who offered his few loaves and fishes and the early disciples, sharing what we have with others and working together in community. Is it possible the little bit we put in God's hands will be multiplied to feed a hungry world? I see it every day in my work at WSMP. We take the loaves and fishes you offer. The case of Pakistan, in the aftermath of devastating floods this summer. Today, 32,000 people are eating today for 2 months with emergency food rations provided by you. We take the little gifts you put forth in the aftermath of Haiti, which put together amounted to $1.4 million today, that is being used now to feed and care for thousands, educating kids, building homes, and providing special support to people with disabilities. In the words of the Reverend William Coffin, a noted Presbyterian minister, there is no limit to what love can do. Love is a miracle. Love is a basket of 5 loaves and 2 fishes, which is never enough until you start to give it away. So friends, as we celebrate the wonderful anniversary of this church and its ministry, let us embrace the call by the teachings sacrifice of Christ, to be the children of God, as an Easter people in a Good Friday world, giving witness to the enduring grace and love of our Creator and His Son.